Hey, it's Bernard from everydaycarry.com. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I talk about EDC gear that's more practical than tactical and from a lens that's more appreciative of design and functionality for the urban EDCer. So today I have a bunch of knives that I wanted to sort of unbox and show you guys. Basically, I saw Reate knives over at SHOT Show earlier this year, and then they hit me up on Instagram and they're like, hey, we have a new knife that's ready. Do you want to check one out? And I said, sure, I will check one. And then they just sent me all of them. So one of every color. So we're going to look at those. And today the knife in question is the PL-XT from Reate. And let's just do a quick unboxing here. So um, you get this certificate of authenticity. So you get this Reate sticker. Because it says do not eat and throw away on this, I really want to eat it just because it's telling me not to. And then you get some extra spare parts here, but let's pull out, this is the PL-XT. Flicks right open. This is quite chonky. This is the first thing I'm going to notice is how thick it is, and 4.4 ounces. So not super light. Also, just given that it's only a 3-inch blade. So this is on the more compact side of it. That's just my initial impression. It's just like there's a lot more handle than blade, and it's pretty hefty for what it is. And that's in spite of all of this skeletonization. And the liners have even more cut away. So they did their best to reduce the weight on this, but still comes in at 4.4 ounces. Now, the standout here is the pivot lock. So if you can see here, this pivot acts as a button lock, but it's built into the pivot itself. And we're seeing that this is getting a little bit more popular. CRKT has done this in the past with their deadbolt. The Vosteed Ankelo also debuted their Vanker lock, which is very similar to this. But this is just Reate just calls this a pivot lock, but flicks right open, and then you press this pivot and the blade shuts, right? Interestingly and differently than, for example, the Vosteed Ankelo, this one has a safety switch here. So once this switch is engaged, the button lock doesn't close, right? So that's not moving. And then once I disengage the safety, it will close. And I think, let's test this out. Okay, so in a closed position, you can't push the safety open, or sorry, you can't close this lock. So have to open it for it to close. This is dual thumb stud deployment. So we could try with my left hand here. Flicks open with the left hand. We have Nitro V blade steel. This is finished with a black PVD. So that's physical vapor deposition. Also should help with corrosion resistance a little bit, just having that PVD finish on there. Drop point blade, but it has like this swedge up here. Very minimal jimping, if at all, just like these 3 little spots right there for jimping. And then you kind of get sort of like finger choil action, not really. You can choke up a little bit more, but the blade is like so small. I would just grip it this way, honestly. Yeah, the action is nice. Doesn't snap with authority all the time, but it feels pretty good. So let's open up the rest of these and show you guys the different colors. So here we have the natural Jade G10 on black liners with a black PVD blade. So let's put that out here. So this one's black micarta with red G10 in a Stonewash Nitro V blade. So I'll show you guys that. So a little black and red and silver action. I do like these accents on the G10 going into the liner here. This is like pretty cool, this contrast. You don't see it on the Jade one, but you do see it on the red one. And it just draws a little bit more attention to the skeletonization and the features on here, like the lock and the pivot lock. We got a few more. So this one's black micarta, black G10 with a copper PVD. Ooh, this is an interesting look to it with the copper PVD. It's it's more brown, but it does have some difference in texture in the blade itself. Let's see if we could capture some of that. Hopefully on the top down view you can see it. It's kind of, yeah, like the stonewash kind of color. The handle, this one's black micarta. This one is also black micarta and black G10. Interesting. So it's a mix, and it has this pattern in it that looks more like micarta than anything. And then the hardware accents, like on the clip, is also this copper PVD. The rest of it's blacked out. So like if you compare these two, very different look. This one is orange G10 with a black PVD blade. So here's this one. This is black and orange. The orange is not that vibrant. It's not like that super bright blaze orange, high vis kind of orange that a lot of people seem to like in the EDC world, but it does contrast nicely with this black. If you like black and orange, this is sort of going to be your go-to. The G10 has like kind of striations in it a little bit as well. It's not as solid of a pattern of orange G10. So get this one on here. This is green micarta with black G10 in a stone-washed finish. Oh, this one is like, looks great, I think. Green micarta with black G10. So I think the outer scale is micarta, and then towards the middle of it is where the G10 starts. I think that's how it's working. This one looks really nice. I think a lot of people are gonna like this one. Last but not least, we have the black and satin combo. So here you go. This is black micarta, black G10 with the satin blade. Flicks right open, and this is more of a classical look as well. Let's take a look at that. And again, these are not like super big knives, but they are substantial enough in hand. 3 inches, I think that's going to be the sweet spot for a lot of people. Anything over, you're risking like legal limits and stuff like that. Anything smaller, you might not be getting the most functionality and ergonomics out of it. So I do think these are going to be solid performers. I haven't tested them yet. I just unboxed them for you guys today. I think the color options are also really interesting, and the pivot lock with the additional safety lock, I think is a nice addition to just general options out there for everyday carry knives. So verdict is still out on how people are going to get along with this button lock. Theoretically, this should be safer just because you don't need to put your finger in the path of the blade like you would for a liner lock or frame lock. And the added safety sort of just helps give peace of mind here that it's not gonna disengage while you're holding it a certain way, because the pivot is still like close to where your hand is going to be holding this knife, right? If you're gripping really tightly or whatever, like right now I'm gripping it and my knuckle is kind of pushing into the pivot lock and I can hear it jiggle, but it's not going to fall on me, especially if I'm putting downward force like into some kind of material, right? And you also just need to be careful to remember to disengage the lock when you want to close it, because if your muscle memory is like used to, I don't know, disengaging the lock and then flicking the knife closed or whatever that might be, and you're just not ready for the lock to be in place, the safety to be in place, then that might pose an issue. Shout outs to Reate for sending these over for me to show you guys today. Again, this is the PL-XT. And this has their pivot lock mechanism. 3-inch blade, Nitro V steel with a mix of micarta and G10 in the handles. Lots of skeletonization to bring the weight down. It's still a little bit hefty at 4.4 ounces, but it does come with a pocket clip. Yeah, these appear to be $117. Let me know if this is something you'd pick up, which one is your favorite, and if you're into this sort of button lock trend we're seeing from these makers. So again, thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting or useful or helpful or in any way, consider subscribing. And until the next one, peace.